taking a bit of a breather, a pause, if you will, just to regroup, refresh, and renew some things to um, start again. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about myself and um, what the future holds, what's important to me, what should get my time, my energy, and my focus. And yeah, we'll be talking more in depth about those things. But I wanted to pop on because it has been a while since I have uploaded something new. And so today, I got my glasses here, y'all, in case I need to read anything, I can pop those on. Today, I want to talk about behavior change. And if you're in the T&D, the training and development space, or learning and development, if you're an educator, or if you're just, a regular person that's looking to make some changes yourself, or you're interested in helping someone else to make a change, then this video is for you. Um, I have been doing again some soul searching and some things that I wanted to change even for myself. And I've talked about this before. For those of you that are new, my name is Jennifer Mitchell Early. I help individuals and teams achieve organizational and personal success. I have operated in the training and development space. I am an author, a minister, a former elected official, and yeah, the politics are really ugly right now, and the politicians are politicking. Some not representing you as they should, but that's a subject for another day, not for today. I've done leadership training for the last 25 years, technical writing, technical training. I've been an adjunct professor. I've dibbled and dabbled in, um, you know, uh, secondary education and post-secondary education. So I've been around, especially in the education space, in the leadership and management space, and then the political space. Was an elected official for 15 and a half years. So I have been doing some thinking about some things that I personally wanted to change and address in this season of life. And also from a training and development perspective, behavior change and education, that's it. That is the crux, right? That is the issue, is that you provide education, you provide training to change behavior, which then impacts performance improvement and things of that nature. So, want to talk to you about behavior change and how behavior change isn't easy. And what makes me think about this is that I had a conversation with my nephew earlier today, and I was just explaining to him that the older you get, the more, entrenched in your ways you become, the harder it is to change, even when you want to change. And we all know what happens at the beginning of the year. We fourth quarter, we relax, we eat, we hang out, we enjoy the holidays with friends and family, with our coworkers and our jobs, with holiday parties. We do all the things we want to do. We drink, we indulge. Some of us, overindulge because we feel like for the whole year we've had our nose, to the grindstone and getting those things that we need to get done, and meeting goals and objectives and checking things off of our list. And so we let our hair down and we let loose, only to try to regroup and pull back the reins in January to get back on our health stick, right? We want to eat right. We want to lose weight to get ready for our summer bodies, get back into clothes for our hot weather for those of us who are in cooler or cold climates for 6 months out of the year. So, everybody knows all the marketing gets ramped up, and gym memberships and the protein shakes and eating right and trainers and all of those things come to the forefront of our minds. And we start with our New Year's resolutions, all the things that we want to do in the new year that we weren't focused on or didn't get to accomplish in the previous year. And then we start off strong. You can't get into a gym in January, as all the machines are taken up, everybody's there. And then slowly but surely, as the end of first quarter comes around, we get into March and April, people start falling by the wayside. You can get into classes, into the gym with no problem. When you go there, your machine isn't taken up, because what happens is, even though we have great intentions, and I'm not going to say it is a matter of commitment, it's the fact that change is not easy. So, as a trainer who has trained new hire employees, and I've trained employees on new technology or enterprise wide training where they've changed systems and they want to change, the processes for doing things. You can always go back into the field and find that there are those people who are just not doing it the way they've been trained to do it. So, on a change management perspective, we try to get early adopters, people who will, make the change early on so they can be examples and they can, demonstrate how it's done, or they can be a reference point either for training to know, hey, we need to connect some more dots, or we're missing this, or we didn't think about that, or maybe this is not clear enough, or this process isn't actually working, down to the front line where they can be a resource for people who are having challenges, who are resistant to change because they've been doing it so long a certain way that that's the way that they want to keep doing it. And we've all been there. I am a change practitioner. I am certified, a ProSci change practitioner certified in that. And it's still difficult for me to make certain changes because we don't like change. And we always believe, whether we admit to it or not, that when we're reticent to change, when we're reluctant to change, that, this way, we can always reason with ourselves why one way still works. It's still the most efficient and effective way to do it, even when that's not the case. So, it's not that people are stubborn. It's not that people are reticent for no reason. Often we don't like uncertainty. We don't know what to expect. We don't know the impacts of the change. We believe it may be adverse impacts of the change. And so there's a number of reasons, a myriad of reasons as to why people don't adopt change, or don't happily adopt change, or don't readily adopt change, because change is challenging. So there are 6 stages of change that I want to talk to you about today. There's pre-contemplation, where we're ignoring or denying the problem. There's contemplation, where we weigh the pros and cons of making the change. There's preparation, where we decide that we're going to make the change. And then there's action, fourth step, where we take the steps toward the goal. And then there's maintenance, where we stick with it for the long term. And then relapse is the sixth step, or stage, where mistakes and setbacks happen and people have to decide, we decide whether or not we're going to keep moving forward. So I can talk to you about this from a training standpoint, from developing new behaviors or processes or things of that nature, but I'd much rather talk about it from a personal standpoint and using myself as an example. I've been around for a minute. Yeah, I'm in the middle of life. And there are things that I have been doing for a long time that no longer benefit me, right? That's just the honest to God truth. Sometimes you have to take out the mirror and take a look at yourself and then use a magnifying glass so that you can really amplify those areas that we have been so, um, I guess, good is the word I want to use, or so adamant, probably is a better term, adamant about hiding, even from ourselves. So I will say, for the purpose of this video today, that I have been making a concerted effort to get out. I am the mother of one child, a daughter who is now grown. She graduated from college this year. Very, very proud of her. successful, working, educated, um, strong, bright, articulate young lady, right? I did my job, did my job. So pat myself on the back on that one because my girl is rocking it out. Very, very, very proud mother. And my parents, praise God, are still alive, still healthy, still vivacious, still tenacious, still precocious, still getting out in the world, getting around, driving, doing all those things in their 80s, still living life. We travel together. We do happy hours together. So we spend time together. And I have a brother and nephews and family out of state. So I have been existing in a pattern of behavior for some time that was exacerbated by our time indoors some couple years ago. I don't need to say what, most of you know what I'm talking about and remember. Um, and working remotely and working on projects, which is my thing that I enjoy the most. So I have been indoors happily, contentedly, peacefully inside. But now that I'm getting older and I don't need to be the same type of parent or mother that I was, or the same type of daughter that I've been, I probably have to be a little bit more hands on now as your parents get older. Your roles kind of reverse, where you're more of the parent than you are the child, meaning that you not necessarily they need me to be a caretaker, but more of I guess an overseer might be a way to describe, like just the oversight to make sure that they're good, that we're going to doctor's appointments, that what's going on with doctor's appointments, you know, where is everything where it needs to be health wise, financially? Is there anything else I can assist with? I have been like their personal assistant for some time now. I have been their activities coordinator. Their what is it when you go to the hotel and you go downstairs and you ask the person about reservations on that? That's I am that for them. That is me. And again, I am blessed. I have no complaints. But I have operated in that space, in that pattern for so long. And previous to that, been busy, been a mother, been out, been doing life, or life has been doing me, depending on what season we're talking about. That it has become a habit, and, if there were any bad H words, I would think that habit might be one of them because habits set up so quickly and we are so entrenched in them in our routines and the like that we don't even recognize when when a habit no longer serves us, right? When it no longer benefits us, when a habit can become even toxic. So for me, it was being inside. Okay. Said all that to say being inside, not getting out, not doing the things I want to do. And it kind of, if I peel back the onion and if I were honest, I would say this goes back decades at this point, where you wanted to do things with your friends, right? In a group where there is some social, I guess, safety to that. And if your friends didn't want to do it, then you didn't want to do it. And so something as small as going out to eat. Like if you can't go out with your girls or you're not going out with your family, heaven forbid you go out by yourself. And on many occasions, I have missed out on something that I really wanted to do because no one else wanted to do it. And as I've gotten older, I decided that no longer worked for me. That no longer served me. That was not a pattern of behavior that I wanted to maintain. Because as you get older and as life happens, people have things that they need to do that may not include you or involve you or revolve around you. And where does that leave you? Like me, you'll miss out on things that you really want to do, things that maybe you only have one opportunity to do before you no longer have that opportunity. before it's gone. And it's just something that you missed out on because other people didn't want to do it, despite the fact that you wanted to do it. So I decided this year, yeah, this year, that that was no longer acceptable. And I laugh because while I made the decision, and in my heart was down for it, but my mind was like, no, sis, that's not what we do. That's not how we get down. There is no safety in that, in doing things by ourselves. And I was laughing as I talked to my nephew because, he will go out, he will have drinks, he will watch a game. And for me, I was like, oh, that's not a big deal for you because you don't mind going out, to watch a game, having a couple of drinks, getting you some wings, and just enjoying life. What I did not realize was he too had to make that decision because he was also missing out on things. And if he wanted to go out to eat and nobody else wanted to do that, he didn't want to miss out because other people didn't want to partake. And my nephew was in his late 20s, and I was impressed. I was proud of him for making that decision at this stage of life when your peers are so important to you at that stage and their thoughts and what they want to do. It kind of clouds or what's the word I want to use? It doesn't cloud necessarily what you want to do, but it takes precedent over what you want to do. So you're more inclined to not do anything because, or not go because they're not available. And so I was thinking, man, I wish I would have made the decisions that I'm making now then, and it wouldn't be so hard. So I'm going to use these steps to explain to you a recent experience I had a couple of months ago, and to tell you about someone else I met along that journey that I found also interesting. So I thought about it. So stage one is pre-contemplation, where you just ignore it, like, oh, that's okay. I'm not going to go out. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, even though inside, I internally there was a battle. Like there were things I was like, oh, but I wish I could do this, and I wish I can do that. And the problem is I didn't have to wish. I had control over it. There was definitely something that I could do about it. So during the pre-contemplation, if you see me looking down too, I'm also looking at my notes. During this pre-contemplation stage, you can either ignore the problem or deny the problem, or you can employ strategies to rethink your behavior. You can analyze yourself and your actions. Remember, I talked about having a mirror and having a magnifying glass, right? To really amplify so that you can see what's going on and truly analyze it, analyze your action, and then assess your risk of your current behavior. So, in this example, I thought about what could I be missing out on? And listen, I look good and time has been very good to me, but time isn't on my side. I mean, anything can happen to any of us at any time, but um I don't want to keep missing out on things. I don't want life to pass me by because I'm not in a crowd, or because as you get older, you don't hang out with 8 people anymore. Your circle kind of gets smaller and dwindles down. And just because someone else doesn't have an interest in what I have an interest in doesn't mean that my interest is not valid or that I should not pursue the things that I have an interest in. So I began to really think about what's really holding me back? What's the problem? Right? What's the risk of going out by yourself? Well, I will tell you this: the older that I've gotten, the more conservative that I have become. So, young Jennifer, we going out, we kicking it. I didn't really think things all the way through. I wouldn't say that I was reckless. I would still say that I was a pretty responsible young adult, but I hadn't lived long enough to know all of the, potential for danger or consequences or things of that nature, right? So I didn't sit there and think about it. Well, now at this point in my life, I've seen quite a bit and I've lived through some things. So now my thought process will go from A to Z. And if you've watched me for any amount of time, I believe strongly in a contingency plan. So in order to have a contingency plan, you have to think things through, right? You've got to think about if this happens, then you do this. You have to think those things through. That's a two-edged sword for me because sometimes I'm going to sit there in my pre-contemplation and think about everything to the degree that I'm like, that's okay. I'm not really even interested anymore, right? We've all been there and done that. So that's what you do in the pre-contemplation stage. But as I thought about my behavior, I thought, I'm going to go out. I'll let people know where I'm going. I'm going to make sure that I'm in a safe environment, that I am comfortable, even in my discomfort, because the truth of the matter is, at that point, going out was hella uncomfortable. I don't want to go out and, well, everybody know I'm out by myself. Like, do I look crazy sitting there by myself? Like, if I go, it's going to a happy hour. Am I going to look crazy sitting at the bar by myself? Right. So that's the pre contemplation stage. So at that stage, you begin to really ask yourself some questions. Stage two is contemplation. So, ambivalence and conflicted emotions characterize this stage, right? That's when I talk about how I can think things through and then have all these contingency plans, but then I talk myself out of it because you're weighing the pros and the cons of the behavior change. And sometimes, depending on your state of mind, you can talk yourself out of things because you're going to think about what the most negative aspect of what you're thinking, what you're considering. And that's not always true. We know about fear. We know that those thoughts, the stories that we tell ourselves are not always based in truth or reality. They're based in self-preservation and protection. During the pre-contemplation stage, we confirm readiness and our ability to change. Am I really ready to go out here? Am I really ready to change in this way? And for me, it's more than just sitting somewhere by yourself. It's actually tied a little bit, honestly, to vulnerability. Am I willing to be vulnerable? Am I willing to be extroverted? I'm really not an extrovert. I present this way. I've been a leader. I have to be able to talk in front of people, but I don't get my energy from people. I am a true introvert. If given an opportunity to go out or stay in, y'all already know because I've already told you I'm going to be right here. That time in our recent past where we were all in the house, I had not one problem with it other than the obvious health dangers. But as far as not having to interact with people, I was golden. That was my time. That was my ish. During this time, you also identify barriers to change. So for me, it was just getting out of my own way. There were no other barriers. I didn't have to find a babysitter. My daughter was grown. I didn't have to find a pet sitter. My fur baby was is taken care of. I It wasn't like I didn't have the money to go out and enjoy myself. I had I had the expendable funds. There was somewhere in proximity. There was somewhere I'd like to go. Someplace I enjoyed. There were no true barriers to leaving to do this, right? To challenge myself in this way. I'd like to do little things like challenge myself, right? To step outside of my comfort zone. I've used karaoke before to do that. I just recently used karaoke on a cruise ship to do that. It was hell conversation for another video, but it is always difficult to step outside of our comfort zone. So if you're an educator, if you're a trainer, you're talking about behavior change, you also need to understand and build in your evaluation process the fact that it is challenging to actually commit to the change for a number of reasons and not to expect that there would be this overnight, you know, jump to what your expectations are too. So I like to set folks' expectation, right? So the expectation is that it's taking people a little bit to change. It's not that easy. It's easier said than done, right? An 8 hour training is not going to change 20 or 15 or 10 years worth of routine and habit for an individual, right? The third stage is preparation. So you get ready, right? You start experimenting with small changes. You start collecting information about the change. And so during this time, a strategy you can employ is writing down your goals. If you're journaling, say, hey, I decide I'm going to happy hour on Thursday. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to wear. This is how I'm going to, behave while I'm there. I'm going to, challenge myself to speak to people, to make small talk with the bartender or whoever's sitting next to me, whatever that strategy is, you can write down your goals. and prepare your plan of action. You also might want to make a list of motivating statements like, hey, it's not a biggie. It's just happy hour, sis. You're just gonna have a drink, look at the monitors above you, people watch, pop an AirPod in your ear, listen to some music, a book on tape. The whole point is to get out and to do it, because once you do it, you know it can be done. So that is stage 3 of preparation. Stage 4 is actually, doing it, taking action, taking direct action towards your goal. So we're not thinking about it anymore. We're not talking ourselves into it anymore. We're not writing about it. We're not dreaming about it. We're going to do it. And then you're going to reward your success and then seek out social support. So for me, I called my daughter and I was like, I'm going out. I made it here because I'm gonna keep it 100 with you all. I always do. There was a small, like microscopic chance that I had gotten dressed, put on makeup, did my hair, and was not going to go. It was just a microscopic chance. But if I'm looking in the mirror and I have the magnifying glass out, I'm going to be honest with you. I, for a moment, was like, screw this. I got drinks at the house. I can I can forego all the anxiety and just stay home. I didn't. But what I did tell myself was, I'm going to have whatever I want to have. There's a drink at the place that I went to that I really enjoy. I was like, I'm going to have that drink and then I'm going to try a different drink. And I'm going to have whatever, the appetizers I like. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to enjoy the experience. So I went. I talked to my daughter and I parked the car and I talked to her until I parked and I was like, Shh, okay, I'm about to go in now. I'll call you when I get done. Okay. The fifth stage is maintenance. So during this stage, you maintain your new behavior and you avoid temptation. So, temptation to relapse, that is. So, you develop your coping strategies for temptation and you remember to reward yourself. So, I have done several new things based on that lunch that I did with the happy hour, all around getting out and being my own company. Let me just tell you, I love myself. I don't think there's anything better than me, myself, and I. I am not the type of person who cannot date myself or spend time with myself. I enjoy being by myself. I enjoy company too, but I also enjoy me. So I don't have any problems with that. I think it's just, again, the being vulnerable, being by myself, in an environment that even though I may be familiar with it, I'm not familiar with it solo. So, a big bucket item would be like a solo trip, right? If I can do a solo trip, then I will have conquered this, right? I will be like, I'm the master of this. But I take little small baby steps to maintain it. Karaoke on the ship was one thing. We went to the solo travelers like happy hour. Child, nobody was there, but I went, so I did give myself a point for that. So you want to maintain it. Um, and that is just reinforcing your new behavior. Think of it that way. So whenever you give someone a new behavior, you want to positively reinforce that behavior and give them an opportunity to continue to practice that behavior, thereby reinforcing it and maintaining it. And then the final stage of change is relapse. And relapse is characterized by disappointment, frustration, and feelings of failure. So for some people, going out, they may feel like they're in a fishbowl. I was kind of raised in a fishbowl, and I've talked about that before, where you feel like your all eyes are always on you for whatever reason, like you've lived out loud. And so and one of the things that kind of held me back is not wanting to run into people, right? Which I did run into someone as I went to the happy hour. I was happy to see her. She's very nice. I don't have any issue with it, but you kind of feel, I felt a little inferior, like, well, why would I have to be all by myself? Like these are the type of crazy things that you tell yourself, right? And it is because people go out by themselves all the time. It doesn't say anything about you. It's not like you couldn't have company if you didn't want to have company. Some people choose, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go out. I want to watch the game. I'm gonna go have a drink. It's happy hour. I like this place. I'm hungry. I want to eat there. It's very simple, but in our minds and those strongholds, things can become very complicated and exaggerated. So Strategies in the stage, in the relapse stage, are identify triggers that lead to relapse. Identify what those feelings are, what they're rooted in, and if they're rooted in reality, deal with the reality of that feeling. Recognize your barriers to success, and then reaffirm your goal and commitment to change. And sometimes you have to and try again, right? Until you become more comfortable with trying. And we can also liken this. I use something very simplistic like me going out, which quietly is not that simplistic to me. And some things that people are going through are not that simplistic to them, but just using that as a template for you to plug and play this model. If there's something that you're doing, if it's losing weight, if it's changing your eating habit or your diet, if it's making, because before you get to the losing weight, there has to be a behavior change as it relates to, your diet and making the right choices to fuel your body. Like, you have to do a deep dive. Things are not always as surface and as cut and dry and as black and white as we like to believe they are. And so when we talk about the pre-contemplation stage, when we go back to stage one, that's when you're thinking about your behavior and really the root of your issue so that you can address it appropriately and properly. But behavior change, is not that simple, but once you get it established and you have a commitment and a strategy around um, making sure that you can meet your commitment, then it will become a good habit. So for some people, like for me, I never made my bed as an adult. Early in my life, I got up, got dressed for work, and I was out because I was getting back into bed anyway. At the end of the day, to sleep and do it all over again. And then somewhere along the line, I decided I wanted to make my bed because I felt like the more chaotic my space was, the more chaotic my mind is. And I feel the same way about my car. If there's two places and my desk, if I'm working on site somewhere, my desk looks the same way every night that it does every morning. I put everything back and into its rightful place because in my mind, that establishes order so that when I come in the next day, I have the order that I need to be productive and to continue to move forward. So I feel the same way about my car and my bedroom. Um, and so I started making up my bed. And I can become anal about things to the degree that I can't do anything else until I make up my bed. Like if I'm supposed to make up my bed, I need to make up my bed. And so that's something that I started to do every day, and it became a habit. I remember when I was getting my nails done, and my nail tech was like, when I was getting pedicure, was like, you simply just need to use a loofah in the shower every day, Jennifer, and your feet will look good all the time. Get a loofah, do it every day. And initially, I was like, I ain't trying to. I don't know what I thought. I think I just was young and it's like, that's what I pay you for. I'm gonna come in here. You're gonna do this pedicure. Life is gonna go on. But as I got older and got some common sense, I was like, oh, I can do this. It's just one extra step. Like after I rinse off, I do my lube on my feet, rinse, squeegee the glass, get out, not squeegee the glass. That was something new that came along as well. But the point is that once you establish a new behavior, as long as you are committed to it and you're realistic about it. Every day when I was first making my bed, I might have missed the day. I may have forgotten. When I was loofahing, I may have forgotten to loofah. Child, I pack that loofah in my bag when I go out of town now, okay? But the point is that um, once you establish a pattern, you're going to have you're going to have ebbs and flows in it, but eventually it will stick. Eventually, the new behavior will stick. Don't beat yourself up about it. And if it's not sticking, then maybe we need to go back through the stages again and give it some thought, and try to see if we're actually attacking the correct issue. And for those of you who are doing this for training and development, there will always be a situation where you provide training and not 100% of your um, end users, participants, students, whatever you want to refer to them as, or whatever you refer to them as, will do it exactly the way that you have trained and they have practiced during their time with you to do it. I found this, I don't know, it's been a I've been in training for over 25 years, but I haven't seen evaluations done since the beginning of my career. Not the Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluations anyway. So, or where a company even tied training to behaviors or performance improvement. And I'm not going to get into that right now. I've already been on here for a minute. You can look back through my content and see that I've talked about that in the past, which I okay. That you don't I don't even need to say it. But what I used to do them, I used to go out into the field. Your first level evaluation, your smiley sheet, your reaction sheet, the one that's like, oh, this was great. What do you like about the facilitator? Oh, she was nice. She was very welcoming. She explained everything. What didn't you like? She talked too fast. I'm talking about myself. She talked too fast. I wish she would slow down a little bit. What did you like about the course materials? I like that they were well organized and there was job aids and handouts that further explain things that I can quick reference guides or toolbox I could take back to my job. That's your reaction sheet. How did you like the climate in the room? Oh, the air conditioning was on blast. It was too cold. Turn on the air conditioning. Those things. That's a reaction sheet. First level evaluation. Second level evaluation is how you do. Sorry, I got my fur baby in here, so I have to correct her. Bailey, sit down. The second level evaluation is how they actually do what you taught them to do. So when I started my career, I was in banking. I did, amongst other things, management training because I was a banking center manager prior to that, and I also did teller training, customer service representatives. So I would teach them how to do their transactions, and then I would go out to the banking center and watch them take transactions with the customers for a period of time. And with my little check sheet to make sure that see what was being done and what wasn't. And whatever wasn't being done, I would then reinforce that training while I was there. And if this happened, if it was noted by the manager prior to me coming out to do the second level evaluation, it was brought to my attention, then I would come out and do specialized training because behaviors don't automatically stick. So, behavior change is not easy, but it can be done not only for our participants if you're a trainer, but also for ourselves if you are a learning and development consultant, if you are a training and development consultant, if you are a facilitator, if you're a trainer, whatever you go, the name they call you by now, because it always changes, or a change management or a change practitioner. Change is not easy, but it can be done. So I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. And you can let me know about a time where you had to change and you were reticent to it, or a time with a participant or a class or even a client. Child, I got stories about clients too, about being reticent to change. Please leave them below. Glad to be back, y'all. We'll see you in my next video. Bye.